Most sports bettors lose for one simple reason. They're guessing. That's why I stopped guessing and built a system that finds profitable bets automatically using a tool called OddsJam. I've milked thousands of dollars from the sports books, and it's got to the point where I'm banned from a bunch of them. But if you follow this exact process, you can realistically go from $0 to $10,000 without being a pro and without watching every game like a degenerate. Now, when I first started betting, I was absolute garbage. I was going all in on random teams, chasing parlays, and sweating over Lock Daddy 69's Twitter pics. He'd go 3-11 and I lost a bunch of money. And that's when it hit me. This isn't betting, this is just burning money with extra steps. So I stopped following tipsters and started doing actual research. And I realized that the people who actually win at sports betting don't even watch every game. They're math nerds who bet based on probability and market inefficiency. And once I learned that, I got obsessed. I wanted to find a way to actually make money from betting without becoming a full-time model builder. That's when I stumbled across a tool called OddsJam, which I'll dive deeper into later in the video. And since then, I've placed hundreds of bets, made tens of thousands of dollars, and I've been banned or limited by a bunch of sportsbooks. Now, if you want to follow along while I walk through everything, I'll leave a link below to try OddsJam for yourself. And if you sign up using my link, I'll let you join my private community for free. Right now, we've got over 81 people inside where we help each other use the tool, share bets, and beat the sportsbook together. So if you're interested in that, check out OddsJam. The link is in the description below. And for those of you watching on TV, just scan the QR code up on screen. This will take you to the next step. Now, before I dive into how to use OddsJam, we need to understand an important thing when it comes to sports betting. Because think of betting like shopping. If you walked into a store and saw a bottle of water for $5 and the exact same bottle was $2 across the street, you'd buy it from the cheaper place, right? That's basically what OddsJam does for you. It's price shopping for sports betting. Because every sportsbook sets its own odds using different algorithms, models, and even public money. So for the same exact bet, the odds can vary from one book to another. No one actually knows what's going to happen. They're all just pricing it differently. OddsJam scans all those sportsbooks and tells you where the best value is, where the odds are off, and when you consistently bet where the odds are in your favor, you tilt the edge toward you. That's how you take back the money the sportsbooks have been quietly draining from you for years. I've seen many of my students go from losing $200 a week to building an actual side income just by using this system. Some have even quit their jobs by following a process that works. No more chasing losses, and no more donating money to the bookie's yacht fund. So now let me walk you through how OddsJam works. And the very first thing you want to do when you're starting out is grab the free money. Here's what I mean. Sportsbooks are in a war for new customers. They all throw out these crazy promos like deposit matches, risk-free bets, and bonus credits just to get you in the door. Why? Because they know the average bettor is going to come in, fire off a couple of parlays, lose, and never touch the money again. And that's how they print money. But if you're actually betting smart by using math and positive EV plays, you flip that equation. Suddenly, those promos become free money to kickstart your bankroll instead of a trap. Think of it like credit card sign-up bonuses. The bank hopes you'll rack up debt and pay interest. But if you pay your bill on time, you're just pocketing free rewards. The same concept applies here. Now, since I'm based in Australia, you won't see a ton of promos on my screen. That's because it's actually restricted here. But in the US, it's a goldmine. OddsJam's promo finder pulls all those deals into one place so you don't have to dig through each app yourself. You can easily grab thousands of dollars in bonuses just by signing up and following the rules. And it's not just the US, OddsJam works in a bunch of countries too, like Canada, parts of Europe, Mexico, Brazil, and Australia. The full list is up on screen right now. If you're in one of these, you're good to go. This is literally the easiest way to start building your bankroll, so don't skip it. But you want to know where the real magic of OddsJam is? It's the positive EV tool. This is where you will spend most of your time with the software. But first, I want you to think about this. Most bettors only use 1 or 2 sportsbooks. That's like shopping for a new TV at just one store. You're guaranteed to get ripped off. Value only shows up when you can compare prices across multiple stores, or in this case, multiple books. OddsJam scans 40 plus sportsbooks, and that's where the edge comes from. Now, you'll hear me say this term a lot. Plus EV, or positive expected value. But what does that actually mean? It's simple. Every bet you place has an expected value. If it's negative EV, it means the odds are stacked against you over the long run. And that's how the sportsbooks make billions. But if it's positive EV, it means you're the one holding the advantage. Play enough of those bets and you'll win over time, even if you lose a few in the short term. So let me show you an example. Here we've got Baylor versus SMU. First quarter team total, SMU over 7.5. 7 different books are offering lines on this exact bet. Midnight Sportsbook has it at 2.75 in decimal odds, which is plus 175 in American odds. Now, most other books have it closer to 2.20 to 2.53, but the average across the market is 2.53. So why does that matter? Because at 2.75, Midnight is basically saying there's only a 36.4% chance of this hitting. But the true market projection based on all the other books is around 40.5%. That gap creates an 11.47% positive expected value. That's what OddsJam does for you. It helps you find bets where the sportsbook is accidentally giving you better odds than reality suggests. And when you stack these kinds of plays day after day, you tilt the edge away from the book and back toward yourself. Oh, and by the way, if you want to try out OddsJam yourself, then I'll put a link to it down in the description below, or you can scan this QR code right here if you're watching it on TV. But now the question is, how do we actually know if these bets are really positive EV? That's where filters come in. Filters cut out all the noise, so you only see the bets that actually matter. And here's how I set mine up. First, I only look for bets with at least 3% positive EV, because sometimes the calculations can be slightly off or the market can move quickly. So having that 3% buffer gives me some leeway and makes sure I'm stacking the deck in my favor. Second, I want at least 4 sports books covering the game. If there is only 1 or 2 books posting odds, then the average isn't reliable. For example, I pulled up a bet the other day. Carolina Panthers versus Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence over 32.5 passing attempts. OddsJam flagged it as plus 2.8, 2% EV at 1.98 odds. Looks good, right? But when I dug into the odds screen, I saw only 3 books offering lines. With so few data points, one book being way off can distort the whole calculation. That's why having at least 4 books to compare is necessary. It can give you a stronger consensus, which reduces the chance of chasing false edges. And finally, the market width. Market width is basically the juice or the vig that the sportsbook builds into the line. The tighter the width, the more efficient and reliable the market. But if the market width is super wide, it usually means the line is soft, unsharpened, or there's not enough action on it yet. So the EV number can be misleading. That's why OddsJam recommends filtering for 20 to 25. That's the sweet spot. So to recap, 3% EV minimum, at least 4 books on the market. Market width between 20 to 25. Set those filters and you'll instantly cut out 90% of the junk and only see the plays that are actually worth your money. That's how I'm able to consistently find and place bets like this on a daily basis. Now, before I dive into the other tools, here's a mistake I see all the time with my students. They lock up their entire bankroll on games that don't start for a week. Think about it. If you're betting 1% of your bankroll per play and you fire off 100 bets that are all scheduled days or weeks ahead, you've basically frozen your entire roll. Now you can't place new bets, you can't adjust during a losing streak, and you're just sitting there waiting for games to settle. And that's just not efficient. So here's the rule I follow. Stick to bets within 24 to 48 hours of game time. Sometimes I'll stretch it to a week if the value is insane, but usually I'm keeping things tight. That way, my money is constantly cycling, I can keep placing positive EV bets every day, and I'm not stuck watching a bunch of pending wagers for a week straight. But what if you could place a bet that is guaranteed to profit? Well, that is where this next OddsJam feature comes in. Arbitrage betting is the simplest way to lock in profit, even if you have no clue about sports. Think of it like this. Imagine 2 stores selling the exact same $100 gift card. One store accidentally prices it at $95 and another store offers to buy it back for $100. If you buy from the cheap store and immediately sell to the other, you've made money without any risk. That's all arbitrage is. You're buying one outcome cheap at one sportsbook and selling the opposite outcome high at another. But here's a real example. Houston Texans versus Los Angeles Rams. First quarter total points. Book 1 has over 7.5 at 245. That's plus 145 in American odds. Then, Book 2 has under 7.5 at 1.85 or minus 118 in American odds. If you put $80 on the over at Book 1 and $100 on the under at Book 2, you've covered every possible outcome. So if it goes over, you profit about $16, and if it stays under, you profit about $4.75. No matter what happens on the field, you walk away with guaranteed profit. Now, full transparency, I don't really do arbitrage myself, because when you bet both sides, you guarantee profit, but you also cap your upside. That's why positive EV betting is way more profitable in the long run. Because instead of grinding out a few bucks at a time, you're stacking bigger edges that compound. That said, if you're brand new and just want to see how the system works, Arbitrage is a great way to build confidence. It shows you in real time that the sportsbooks do make mistakes, and OddsJam finds them for you. Alright, the last tool I want to show you is a game changer if you're serious about treating betting like a business, not just a weekend hobby. And it's the Bet Tracker. Now you can track bets however you want. Some people like Google Sheets, but OddsJam has a built-in tracker that automatically logs everything for you. It shows you your daily profits, weekly profits, and long-term performance, all in one place. For example, here's my own dashboard. Over the past week, I've made $1,076 in profit. Last Friday, I was down about $277, but the day before, I made over $462. And that's just the reality of betting, it's variance. You'll have down days, but if you're consistently playing plus EV bets, your graph trends upward. They also have what's called the sweat station, which shows your month-by-month breakdown. So in August, I ran a challenge starting on the 19th and finished the month up $1,202. I actually documented that whole thing on the channel, so I'll link to it at the end of this video if you want to watch. In September so far, I'm up just $31, so you can see it's not all sunshine. Some months you run hot, some you run cold, but the key is that over time, your expected value evens out. Besides those, the tracker also shows some advanced stats like profit margin per wager, profit by sportsbook, sport, and league, closing line value, which is basically a scorecard that shows how often you beat the market before the line moves. And beating the closing line is the #1 indicator you're actually a sharp bettor. Not only that, you can also track your actual profit versus expected profit. And just to be real with you, my actual profits right now are a little ahead of my expected value. So I've been lucky. My actual profit was $1,233, but my expected profit was supposed to be around $893. But long term, the math always pulls you back to EV. That's why tracking is so important. You can't fool yourself with short-term swings. And if you want to see how other people are doing with OddsJam, then feel free to join our private community. Everyone who signs up to OddsJam through my link gets to join the community for free. Inside, we share our bet trackers, compare results, and help each other stay consistent. If you're interested in joining 81 other sports bettors who are absolutely kicking butt, then click the link in the description to learn more, or scan the QR code up on screen. Now, before we wrap up, let me answer some of the most common questions I get about this system. So do you need a big bankroll to start? Yes and no. You can technically start small, but OddsJam costs about $200 a month. If you're only betting $1 or $10 at a time, you're not going to clear enough to even pay for the software. You'll basically be spinning your wheels. So I recommend starting with at least a $5,000 bankroll. That way, when you're placing $50 to $100 bets, the math works out and you're stacking profit instead of just covering software costs. But how many sportsbooks do you need? The more the better. OddsJam works best when you have access to 5 or more books, because that's where the pricing differences really show up. But even with 2 to 3 books, you can already get started. Just know the more books you add, the bigger your edge. But is this even legal? Yes, it's completely legal. You're just placing normal bets on regulated sports books. But let's be real, the books don't like winners. So if you're consistently making money, eventually they'll ban or limit you. That's just part of the game. And when that happens, you spin up accounts under a cousin's name, your uncle, your neighbor, you get the idea. Not legal advice, do it at your own risk. But let's just say having a big family comes in handy. But can you do this part-time? Absolutely. I spend maybe 15 to 20 minutes a day scanning and placing bets. You don't need to sit there watching every game or refreshing the lines non-stop. OddsJam does the heavy lifting. But what if you don't know anything about sports? It doesn't matter. Seriously, you don't need to know who's injured, who's starting, or who the hot pick is. Remember, you're not betting on teams, you're betting on numbers. And I don't even watch most of the games I bet on. Sometimes I'll throw a fun dumb bet on a game I actually want to watch, just for entertainment, but that's it. But is this guaranteed to work? Well, nothing in life is 100% guaranteed. But what is guaranteed is math. If you consistently place positive EV bets, the law of large numbers kicks in and you profit long term. You'll still have losing days or even losing weeks, but over hundreds of bets, the math wins. But what if I'm not good with tech? Well, OddsJam is dead simple. If you can open a website, you can use it. And if you ever feel lost, that's exactly why I built my community. When you sign up through my link, you get in for free. Inside, there are over 81 of us sharing strategies, posting tutorials, and I'm in there every day answering questions directly. So if you want to go from losing money to making over $3,000 per month from sports betting, then click the link in the description or scan the QR code up on the screen right now. It's about time we join forces and take money back from the sports books that have been stealing from us for all these years. But earlier I mentioned that 7-day challenge I ran using OddsJam, so if you want to see exactly how that went down, the bets I placed, how the results turned out, and what I learned, click right here. I'll put the video up on screen for you to watch next.